Okay, welcome back to the Hangar Bar, everyone. We are super excited to have you here. Candice, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
You excited for today's episode?
Very excited
Very
for today's
excited.
episode.
We have a couple of special guests with us, and we are going to do a marathon recording, and we are drinking, folks, so just be prepared. This is going to get wacky and wild. Maybe not this episode, but by the end, when we're recording the third one, I'm fully expecting chaos.
Okay.
Candice is going to probably try and stay sober to keep us in line.
Well, somebody has to.
Well, okay. So, friends, we'll introduce you here in just a minute. But first, what was your first Star Wars memory? Candice, I'm going to start with you.
My first Star Wars memory was seeing the movie in the theater.
Which movie?
The first one.
Like, you remember when you were 2 years old?
Yep.
Goodness gracious, that's impressive. Like, what do you remember about the movie?
I just remember being terrified of Darth Vader. That's really the only thing I remember, because that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But it was pretty traumatic.
Okay.
Right now, though, I mean, he's probably one of the most favorite characters that I have.
Darth Vader or Anakin?
Darth Vader,
Okay.
Thank you.
Just had to.
That's fair.
Had to clarify.
Yeah.
Had to clarify, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Jackson. What was your first Star Wars memory?
My first Star Wars memory is playing with a cardboard wrapping paper roll, pretending that was a lightsaber.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, that was always a thing for me. Yeah, and jumping around on my grandparents' bed and pretending I was Luke Skywalker. Yeah, that's my earliest. Yeah,
That's phenomenal.
Love that.
Andy, first Star Wars memory.
I don't know if I have a first memory per se. I just grew up as far back as I can remember playing with the action figures and playing out back with sticks as lightsabers. There is a recording that we have as a family. We used to do a lot of recordings traveling around as Army brats. We would send videos back to the family in the States so they could see us growing up. There's a video of me really young, and I don't remember watching Return of the Jedi, but we had just watched Return of the Jedi, apparently, because in the video, my dad was asking me about the Star Wars movie, and I didn't like it when the Bunny Man died. And so me talking about Yoda apparently was
The Bunny
pretty
Man?
traumatic.
Yeah, that makes
the
sense.
Bunny Man,
Okay.
the big ears.
All right.
So I know I was impacted at a very young age, but apparently still found a love for it since then.
Right. That's amazing. For me, I'm with you, Andy. I don't have a lot of strong core Star Wars memories. I don't think I've become a bigger fan of Star Wars until later. Like, Candice will tell you, I don't remember much from growing up. It must be head trauma or something, but I don't remember much about anything when I was little.
Emotional damage.
There it is. But, like, I remember seeing the original trilogy with my brother. Like, that's really, we were watching it probably on VHS, whatever.
right.
I don't remember. I don't think I saw any of the original trilogy in the theater.
So you don't remember going to Disney World at like 9 years old or whatever when you went, but you remember watching Star Wars
Yeah.
with your brother.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
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 True testament to the franchise.
Right.
So
It is.
So what movie did that come? Like,
It's
you remember going, but you
the
don't remember
first
what.
3 movies are all in my head. In my head are all kind of one thing.
Okay.
Like, my brain doesn't separate out early memories of. It's just the trilogy. So my guess is at some point we watched them all.
They
Like,
should
not,
actually rename it the trilogy.
right?
Yeah.
Just all 3 movies all at once.
Just the
the
trilogy.
trilogy.
Yeah.
That's what we're called.
Yeah.
That's our open. Somehow all of that turned into fandom, and we're going to explore that today. We're going to unpack it. Hey, welcome to Hangin at the Hangar Bar. I'm Scott.
And I'm Candice. We're here to chat all things Disney as child-free Disney adults. Stories, snacks, and a little magic along the way.
Grab a drink and get comfy and come hang out with us. Okay, let's get started into the episode. We're going to start with introductions of our guests. So first with us is we have Jackson, who remembers jumping around on grandparents' bed with a lightsaber wrapping paper tube, whacking people with it, I'm sure.
Yep. You got it.
So tell us a little bit more about your Star Wars fandom, Jackson, and kind of what your Star Wars vibe is. So would you consider yourself a super fan, a skeptic, somewhere in between? What's your vibe as a Star Wars person?
What was the first part? What was the first part of the question?
Like just a little bit more about your Star Wars origin story.
Origin story is I'm kind of like Scott. Like I remember growing up with it and really liking it as a kid. I kind of didn't understand the story so much. When the VHS tapes got released, I really kind of dug into it later on. So I think that was maybe junior high when I really got back into it and said, "Oh man, these stories are awesome." And I remember liking this as a real young kid. And man, this is awesome. And then kind of rediscovered it later in life too. Yeah, when I was little, I really liked the toys, and I'll kind of cover some of that later with some of the other questions we were going to talk about. And then my vibe is original trilogy. I think that's kind of my bread and butter. There's other stuff in the prequels and in the sequels that I think that are good, but just never really ever meets the criteria of awesomeness that the original 3 just possess. And I know that's a tall tale to reach, but yeah, so that's kind of my vibe. I like all the stuff. I get excited for sequels and shows and all that stuff, but I seem to be kind of let down by it. So I've kind of given up on a lot of it, unfortunately. So yeah.
Okay. Second guest, Andy, tell us a little bit more about your Star Wars origin story and kind of what your Star Wars vibe is.
So my origin story, again, I'd mentioned traveling around as Army brats. And so one of the things that I think helped cement Star Wars being an integral part of me was the consistency of having Star Wars wherever we moved. And so that was huge, especially as growing up in the 80s, essentially, the heyday of action figures and Star Wars and whatever. And then we even had the made-for-TV movies about the Ewoks and the cartoons about the Ewoks and the droids and whatnot. And then we had somebody recorded for us on one VHS all 3 movies when they played on TV at one point. And so anytime we traveled somewhere and moved somewhere, we were the new kids, my brother and I could pop that in, watch Star Wars. We had Star Wars wherever we went. But on top of that, then, being the new kid, you could always find kids that knew Star Wars, liked Star Wars. And that was an immediate connection that we could form with somebody. So, again, I don't remember any certain instance that was like, oh, wow, Star Wars is cool. I grew up with Star Wars knowing it was cool, for me and for select others. And so that's just, and then again, as things were made and published, it was exciting. And I think that's why maybe, although I completely respect the original trilogy, and that's what really got my kids as well, even at a very young age, they got hooked on Empire Strikes Back of all movies,
really,
which I found interesting. And it was like dialogue scenes that they caught, and they're like, hey, don't change that, when they're really young.
Right.
Which surprised me because it wasn't flashy lightsabers or, cute Ewoks. It was Han and Leia talking in the Falcon. So, it's something that just drew them in, and it always had me. And so now I find myself, I appreciate a lot of the stuff, even the stuff that Disney's done. I know there's a big split in the fandom, but I'm a big fan of what Disney has done. Save for Boba Fett. That's a whole different topic.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
I can't wait.
That's a whole different thing. I appreciate Andor. I appreciate Kenobi. I appreciate a lot of the things that they've done. Rogue One and Solo, I'm big fans of. And I think some of those you might have to be more of a sci-fi nerd to appreciate certain aspects of Solo, more like a Blade Runner type Star Wars than just appreciating Star Wars. But again, we'll get into all that.
Yeah. Is Eric your level of fandom? Did he catch into it as big as you did? Like, do you guys nerd out when you're together?
That's your brother.
That's my brother.
Yeah.
Yep, older brother. And yes, we nerd out. Not that being Star Wars geeks or nerds.
No, not at all.
No, not at all.
I agree. All Star Wars
yes.
fans are awesome.
Thanks, gentlemen. He was more into Star Wars than I was. So I love Star Wars. I love playing Star Wars, playing with the action figures and watching the movies as a kid. Him being a little bit older, and he's probably never going to listen to this because I'll tell him to listen to it, so he won't. He's more intelligent than I am, and he really got into all the early novels that were the continuations that we only had. Steve Zahn, yeah, just Kevin Anderson.
Yeah.
Anyway, a lot of famous authors out there that did comics and novels, and he got into all those because that was the only other Star Wars out there, other than our couple cartoons and then our 3 movies. So he continued appreciating all the other, like, I don't know if you call it fanfic now because it's not canon, but whatever it was. So then he'd tell me, oh, you should read Tales from Jabba's Palace. Because it's about each character, or the Tales of the Mos Eisley Cantina.
Right.
So I start reading those and I read all the backgrounds and, get into that uber nerdum.
That's amazing.
We need to circle back to Han. We need to talk about the
Go.
Han Solo story. No, I mean, not later on.
Okay.
Yeah, let's put a pin in that. If you want to edit this out, Scott, that's fine. But yeah, that's because I want to talk about that. That's one that I really need. I would like to revisit, and if you like it, I will definitely rewatch it again. And I'd like to talk about, put a point on that later. Put a pin in that.
We'll get into that one here in a little bit in this episode, or maybe in the 3rd episode where we start talking about canon.
This is my first podcast, Scott. So listen.
Yeah, no, it's amazing.
I need you to guide me.
That's
you're my Obi-Wan.
Right. Again, we're recording 3. Ooh, do I like that? Maybe I do.
That's bad, Candice.
No, I don't like that.
You don't like that.
Okay.
You don't. You're my Yoda.
Obi Daddy.
You're my rabbit. You're my rabbit. Yeah.
There
Again,
it is.
I don't have to be here for this.
There it is. Okay. Is there a favorite Star Wars character that you have anywhere in canon?
Oh man, who are we starting with?
We don't have to. Like, the rest of this is just conversation.
You want to think?
Yeah. Do you have one locked and loaded? Please.
Always.
Please.
Yeah, I have, even from just the original trilogy, I really appreciated Obi-Wan's character. Mm-hmm. Even though he was only in episode 4 at the time, and then as a ghost in episode 6, but I've always appreciated him. And then when they did the 1, 2, and 3,
right,
even loved him even more.
Ewan McGregor. His
playing the
version
young Obi-Wan.
What about the series? How'd you feel about that?
Loved it.
And
fantastic. I had gotten into some deep discussions with coworkers at the time about Obi-Wan because a lot of them came. They're like, he's I don't know how much I can say. I know it's an adult podcast, but
as long as you're not cursing, we're good.
Really?
We can drop a couple of curse words, but that's
So they
all right, I'm out of here, guys. Sorry, it was a great podcast. So you have to take
Damn
off.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, let me take that back. If you say curse words, it's just going to be more work for me in edit because I have to beep them out. Just so I don't have to click adult because that makes our entire catalog adult. I can't just do one episode at a time.
All right.
So, discussing Obi-Wan with coworkers, they found it hard for them to fathom or believe or even want to accept that Obi-Wan kind of became this recluse and wasn't going to jump to fighting and whatever else because he had fought in the Clone Wars. He had, he was there. He was the first one to see clones, and then he was in the first battle with the clones. Then he led them through all the Clone Wars, and so they had a hard time going, oh, he doesn't want to help like one little girl, like that was a. But then the moment I kind of brought up like a lot of these coworkers, again at the time we were in the Army, and so a lot of them, I'm like, you guys don't have like. You've never met anybody with survivor's guilt or PTSD? And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, right. maybe there's something there, we kind of talked about that. And so if you look at it from that perspective of somebody that had just been through literal hell,
right,
watching him fail his best friend, brother, son that he raised and mentored, which then in turn caused Order 66 the wipeout of the entire Jedi Temple and the way
not
of
just
life.
Fail. He dismembered it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like
right.
Yes.
No pun intended. Yes, he destroyed the Republic because of that, and so he cut himself off from the Force and withdrew. And so, if you accept that, then watching Kenobi makes it a lot easier to stomach, I think, for those people that are resistant to it at first. I loved Ewan McGregor's portrayal of young Obi-Wan, Braid Padawan Obi-Wan,
right,
all the way up through Master Kenobi to old weird hermit, that lives beyond
Alex
the Dune
Guinness
Sea.
version,
and then transferring into and props to Ewan McGregor for getting just the little tweaks that Alec Guinness did, and mastering all his and twisting his well done.
He was easily the prequel. He was the best actor in that, other than Natalie Portman, obviously. But yeah, he was fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. And again, the talking about the character of Obi-Wan, I've always respected, and I think they make it easy to really appreciate him.
Yeah.
So from a kid, Obi-Wan, all the way up through where I am now at 42 years old, Obi-Wan.
Yeah. So here's I also my favorite character, and I'm gonna say my favorite character in the prequels is Anakin. Like, I think he gets sold short. Who's the actor?
Hayden Christensen.
Hayden Christensen. I think he gets sold short on how well he does in episode 2 and 3. Like, because he's not much in episode 1. Like, that's just young Anakin, right?
Right.
He's only in 2 and 3, and I will tell you he got sold short, but only because of a lot of the older fans.
When you say sold short, his acting, or is that
Like, just the character, like, as a whole. I think he gets a bad rap.
It's the dialogue, and that's I'll stick by
whiny.
that. Yeah. Yes, he's so whiny.
Well, and if I can interject, just because yes, he's whiny, and the dialogue is rough. I hate sand. We won't even get into the dialogue there. But again, what they fail to show in a lot of the movies, or they do a really poor job of explaining in the movies, because episode 1, 2, and 3, we got introduced to midichlorian count versus Obi-Wan and Yoda explaining the Force.
Right.
And I know there's a big separation there, but again,
There is a big separation there. Yeah.
midichlorians then allows us to also then clone Palpatine, which then propels us into the other things. So
Right.
we can come back to that.
Scott put a pin in that too.
It's rough. But with Hayden Christensen, the acting, he all of a sudden he goes from, oh, I'm sad, and then he's now Dark Lord of the Sith.
Right.
If you get into it and you read the books and you read any of the canon stuff, even currently, they talk about the Force being a living thing, and which George Lucas wanted it to be a thing.
Absolutely.
The Force is a living thing. You
Yep.
learn to commune with it and harness it. And in the books, they do a lot better job. Even the book of Episode 3, they do a lot better job of explaining the Force is a living thing. And so he would just kind of give into it and let the Force work through him. So it wasn't
Right.
so much, Anakin finds out he's not a master and then gets angry, and now he's going to turn to the dark side. It's allowing that dark side in and allowing it to fester, and then at times letting it take control or work in tandem with the Dark Lord of the Sith there as Palpatine,
Right.
and feed into it. So again, it's a lot more of a symbiotic thing than what is portrayed in the movie. So people see this emo kid, oh, I'm whiny, I'm sad, and my girlfriend might be sleeping with Obi-Wan or whatever he thinks, Yeah, it's because of Obi-Wan, and then Obi-Wan's standing there, all majestic with his hands on his hips. It's
the beard.
I'm
It's gotta
dude
be the
crushing
beard.
here, yeah.
It's got to be the beard.
But yeah, so, it's some of that. So I think he got sold short because you get crappy dialogue,
Yep.
and then you get, I'm sad, and now I'm angry, and now all of a sudden I'm a Dark Lord of the Sith, and I think they do a
you think
huge injustice.
The
there.
emotions move too fast, like there wasn't enough justification. Is that?
Yeah, I think if they would have explained further, like the dark side and how
Right.
it works and manifests itself.
Right. I agree. Agree with that.
And like you see him go in, and he pops in. There's younglings hiding in the temple.
Right.
We're all familiar with that scene.
Yes.
In the novel, they talk about how he's going to the temple, and a lot of the Jedi are like, "Sweet, Anakin's here with the clones. We're saved."
Yes.
Because Anakin is the chosen one, as
Right.
they all see him. And then he starts slaughtering people. And then he goes all up to the younglings, room there where Yoda teaches them, and they think they're saved. And then, in the movie, oh, we're scared, and he ignites his lightsaber, and we all know what happens, and
Right.
it's super terrible. In the book, he goes in to check on the younglings. The one greets him as Master Skywalker. He's not a master of the council. The
That's
dark
right.
side kicks in, takes over, and he slaughters the younglings.
His eyes change color, and then he slaughtered. Yeah.
Right. It's the dark side.
So it's the anger. Like, and in 4, 5, and 6, you hear Yoda talking about that. The anger is what's going to get you.
yeah.
So
That's-
Scott, I want to hear more about. So tell us why. So you picked him as.
Yeah, in the trilogy, I think his character development is sold, again, a little short. Like, you think about the role that falling in love when you're not supposed to fall in love plays in you turning to the dark side. The little things like that you may not notice of when at the end of episode 3, when he's spoiler alerts for anybody that's listening, when he's getting his arms
If you
and
haven't
legs
watched it by
chopped
now.
off. That's If you haven't seen it, it's
That's
too
your
late.
fault.
That's-
Yeah.
But like Obi-Wan has the high ground, and that's a callback to another battle where somebody, I can't remember who, I'm not as big a super fan, but like it's a callback to another battle where they won from being on the low ground. So he thinks he's stronger than Obi-Wan, so it doesn't matter if you have the high ground. And Obi-Wan's like, dude, stop. This is not going to end well for you. And he's like, that moment of, I just don't give a shit. I'm going to take you out because that's what I need to do. And like, some of those moments, I don't think he gets enough credit for as an actor of being able to bring those moments. Even the walking into the room of younglings and just like, and some of that is editing too. Like the lightsaber comes on, the light changes in the room.
Right.
Like I'm just a fan of movies.
Yeah.
Like, and that movie, I don't know that anybody else could have played Anakin better than him in those movies.
I don't think so. And I think Hayden Christensen got his flowers, I think, later. And during the series,
sure.
during Obi-Wan, like Obi-Wan the series, I feel like he really got, like, people were like, yes, like, get him back as Vader, like, this is going to be awesome. And I feel like he got his flowers later. There were obviously things wrong with the prequels. Metachlorians.
So
And
many
yes.
wrong things.
Oh, Candice
You think, okay, so let's spend just 2 minutes, Candice.
I want to hear her. Candice's, yes.
Other than Jar Jar, what's wrong with the prequels?
Does there need to be more?
Yes. So you're going to judge 3 movies by one character that's on screen for a total of 10 minutes.
Sure am.
That's a long 10 minutes, Scott. Misa thinks that's a long 10 minutes.
No, I just think that they were not thought out to the level of detail that they should have been. The characters were not developed appropriately to really introduce them, because it took very much like, you can't start with episode 1 and get a full understanding of who these characters actually are by the time you get to episode 4. It's like you have to watch 4, 5, and 6 to have any idea who you're talking about, and then you have to go back.
Could we this should be a topic of conversation, I believe, the order you should watch them.
I was just writing that down. We'll see if we can get to that in this one. If not, we'll do that as a cold open in one of the other 2. So fans, if we don't get to it in this one, it's your teaser to come back to.
Stay tuned.
When we do our prequel 3.
Right?
Yeah,
dear.
the next time.
Yes.
Anyway, no, Candice, please continue. So,
No, I think that's it. I think
I want to hear Candice's favorite. We're doing favorites, right?
Who's your favorite Star Wars character?
Yoda.
I thought maybe it was going to be the band leader in the cantina.
No. No.
Don't get me started.
So why is Yoda your favorite?
Because he's very wise, of course. I mean, it's Master Yoda.
Wise he is.
Is Yoda the map?
Yoda is the map of the Star Wars universe. He is the map, and so am I. So
You're the map of Disney universe because we're sitting amongst the maps of the Star Wars universe.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. But also, like, he keeps his cool until he can't anymore. Like, even though he's got all this immense power and control of the Force, he doesn't use it until he absolutely has to, and then he just goes complete badass. I love that.
His fight scene, what was it, in that episode 3?
Yeah.
When he's just bouncing off the walls.
Yes.
And it's just amazing. Like, I remember when we saw that
on the
one in the
list.
theater,
Yeah.
I was cheering because
Did the theater
introduced
cheer
to
when
4,
you
5, and 6. Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
same,
The
same.
theater just went nuts when Yoda starts fighting episode 2. So whatever. Like I said, each trilogy is like its own movie to me. They all work together.
There's 3 movies.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
1 through 3.
Yeah.
4 through 6. yeah.
Exactly. Just with intermissions, very long intermissions between.
Years-long intermissions.
But like for those of us that grew up with him in 4, 5, and 6, is this old, on the verge of death. You don't think about Yoda as a warrior.
But they talk about it. They
hint at it.
They say, oh, he rivals, Master Yoda with a lightsaber.
What?
Yoda ain't got no lightsaber. what are you talking about? And
That's a walking stick.
Okay, you just said something. Where in 4, 5, and 6 do they say something about Yoda and his lightsaber? I do not remember that at all.
I think they mentioned his fighting ability. I don't think they mentioned
specifically a lightsaber.
Specifically his
Okay,
lightsaber. But when that little tiny lightsaber comes out of
my god, it's amazing.
I was cheering with the rest of the. What did we establish? They're not nerds. They're
super fans.
Super
fan.
Yeah.
Yes, I like super fans.
Yeah. Okay, so who is your favorite before we move on?
So I can I pick two?
Sure.
When I was young,
No rules.
When I was young, and we actually we talked about this earlier. When I was young, it was Luke Skywalker, and after my teen years, it was Han Solo. So Luke was kind of like, you kind of identify with Luke. He has that amazing arc of like, oh, I have to go get stuff at the pen before power convert. He does that, and then he turns into this awesome badass wearing black, like all black with his black glove on, So there's that arc for him. Like that was, as a kid, I think most kids wanted to be Luke Skywalker.
And something you just said tied me back to Anakin. Luke was a whiny kid.
Absolutely.
That makes perfect sense that then they write Anakin as a whiny kid as well in the prequel. So again,
because there's so many parallels between.
I think George Lucas thought of that more than maybe we give him credit for. Yes, the
execution
could it have been
though,
written better,
was
maybe.
Yes.
But yeah,
the writing's never been great in Star Wars. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's not a movie about fantastic dialogue.
No. So
even Carrie Fisher and Alec Guinness, everybody, they all had their hangups with the dialogue.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Saying no one talks like this, you know. Well, right, you're in a different galaxy a long time ago.
Right.
To be fair, no one wears cinnamon buns on their head either.
Well, wait. We can cover that later. That's the more adult podcast. Anyway.
That's a different version of Star Wars.
But after my teen years, Han Solo, I mean, how cool is he? Han shot first. I mean, we were talking about this earlier, Andy and I. Yeah, he's like the picture of cool. It's Harrison Ford. Like, you don't get cooler than that. He wears a vest and pulls it off.
Not only a vest, but flying gloves. He has flying gloves. He has dice hanging from the. They went from American Graffiti right into Star Wars, basically. You know, and they have this hot rodder guy flying around wearing a leather vest, short of a leather jacket,
right,
with flying gloves.
Right.
He's a cool cat.
Yeah, he was cool. So those are my two, and I acknowledge those aren't like, it's not a deep cut, but those are the greatest hits. But those are definitely mine.
Yeah. So what's Jackson, are you a fan of the movie Solo, A Star Wars Story? Like, did they do the character justice?
I thought it was fine. I didn't. I think I went into it like a lot of other people where I thought, okay, like I'm going to give this a chance. It felt disjointed. It was better than a lot of other Star Wars things that I've tried to watch. And I haven't gone back to it. And that's kind of what, like, I kind of want to hear Andy talk more about this later on, why he likes it. Because to kind of prompt me to watch it more, there's the train sequence, which is really cool. There's the thing. And then, again, spoiler alert, incorporate Darth Maul into it. Like, oh, man, that's another whole thing.
Speaking of
they
nightmares.
wasted that character.
They wasted Darth Maul?
Absolutely. They absolutely wasted. They had this awesome, like, looking character who he kills Qui-Gon Jinn. Like, he does this, and give him dialogue. Make him a well-rounded character.
Right.
He was just this like evil person. Like, he's just evil to be evil and like looks badass. Like,
and it was the first time we saw anything other than a single-bladed lightsaber.
Well, and that's another thing about lightsabers, how they have to keep like reinventing them and doing different colors and different other things. And
how is Disney supposed to make money if they can't sell different colored lightsabers?
And I'm going to stick by. I'm going to die on this hill. I want the Siths to have at least one other color, and it should have been purple lightsaber.
But
I
didn't
think it's
Samuel L. Jackson want a purple lightsaber, so they gave it to him?
well, and Samuel L. Jackson gets what Samuel L. Jackson wants.
Right.
Mother trucker. See, Scott, see how good I'm being? So, yeah, that's that. But I do really wish that they would give them something else, again, for that cheddar cheese.
Right. So everything dark side is red.
Yes.
Sith is red. All the bright,
Right, and-
shiny colors go to
Yes.
Jedi's.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they keep adding colors, and they've tried with the Sith, the one Kylo Ren had the one, and it's supposed to be Darth Vader's old one that's releasing energy, I believe, on the sides that gives it it comes out from the sides, and you'll notice the actual saber isn't stable. All the other sabers you see are stable, and that one it's kind of wavy,
Wobbly.
yeah, wobbly a little bit. And there's a whole backstory again that they missed a great opportunity. Like, explain that,
Right.
explain it. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the problem when you're trying to fit something into 90 minutes, though. You
Great
have
point.
to pick and
Great point.
choose.
Absolutely.
Or if
Okay,
you didn't
but
have
that-
a plan in the first place to run 3 movies together.
Oh, are we going to cover the episode 7? No, 8, when they just threw everything out, and then they threw everything out. So yeah,
Here's my other hot
I'm
take.
salty.
I don't mind 7, 8, and 9. They're movies.
You
I don't-
like
I don't
1, 2,
either.
and 3.
Yeah.
Say what?
He likes 1, 2, and 3.
I like 1, 2, and 3.
No.
No, I don't like 1, 2. Okay,
I
Candice,
love
yeah.
4, 5, 6. I like 1, 2, 3. I put up with 7, 8, and 9. But we can talk about that.
Yeah. Okay. So Star Wars in general, what is it about what keeps you coming back as a fan? Is it the story that they're telling? Is it the visuals that they're putting in the movies and the shows? Is it the music that ties you in? What keeps you coming back as a fan?
2 things for me, and this is probably I am openly admitting this right here and now. I am the least on the fan ladder here in this room right now.
Okay.
It's the music, because John Williams, hello. It's got that emotional grip that keeps you coming back, and you know the instant you hear that music where it's from and what it means. And 2, since my first trip to Galaxy's Edge at Disney World, I have become more of a fan, being immersed in that atmosphere and seeing all the things, and yeah, that
Okay.
did it.
Okay, that's fair. And that was a great teaser for whenever we release our second Star Wars episode. That one's going to be all about Galaxy's Edge.
Okay.
So hold any thoughts about that, because we're going to spend an entire episode on it.
Okay.
I don't know if I keep coming back. I've stopped. I'm not kidding about that. I really hold on to the original trilogy. I still haven't made it all the way through the Clone Wars. I've watched obviously all the movies, but they've just let me down time and time again. And enough so, a lot of things, like, for example, if you compare them to the Marvel universe, for example, there's peaks and valleys with those, but it was enough so that, like, I would come back. And for Star Wars, it really just seemed like it was all valleys. It just never. Rogue One was great. I haven't started, and this, admittedly, I'm a bad fan. I haven't started Andor. I watched part of Andor and I stopped. That is very much a show that you have to pay attention to while you're watching it. I call them folding laundry shows, where you can have it on in the background and fold laundry. It's not one of those shows. The shows, again, they've been fine. Ahsoka, like, they've been, again, there's little nuggets in there that are good, but, like, I just they've let me down so many times where it's like, it just isn't worth my time anymore. And
Wow.
yeah, it just, listen, we're not getting any younger.
Listen.
And we're not, and it kind of takes away from the joy of the originals. And so, yeah, I don't know. I think I'll keep coming back because I'm such a fan of the initial vision and how good it is and how fun it is. But yeah, I guess that's my answer. Is
Do you think as you because of the level of fandom that you have, do you think as they release stuff, it's becoming too much?
And I think I've said that. I think I said this last night. Like, that's my hot take. Is I think less is more. Like, make the writing good. Really like lock down all this stuff and make a 3-hour movie. I don't care if you make a 3-hour movie, but make sure everything is fantastic with it. Like, spend the money on it. Like, get the writers in there.
Mm-hmm.
Get one vision. That's really, I think, what it comes down to is get one person who knows what they're doing, and make sure that don't let the studio heads like say, well, we need to shoehorn this in, or make sure we get a Pepsi product in there. So yeah, I don't know. I think less is more.
Okay, Andy.
I would say watch Solo over again, and then watch Andor 1 and 2.
Okay.
And I know this is telling you to watch a lot. This is hours upon
tell
hours.
me,
This is
Andy.
days.
Yeah, you
right?
tell me.
So you watch Solo. Your original question, what brings you back?
Mm-hmm.
As a kid, Jedi. Jedi were awesome. Lightsabers were awesome. That's what Star Wars was. It was Jedi. Otherwise, it's just sci-fi. It's a space opera,
right?
Admittedly, right? You throw in the Force, you throw in lightsabers and Jedi, and now you have something very different, very cool. I'm not a Trekkie. I like Star Wars because of the Force and stuff. So it's space fantasy, not science fiction. But then you watch Solo. There's 0 Jedi in there. But it's all about fast cars. It's all about this empire. You see Solo getting his name, Han Solo. You see him becoming a stormtrooper at times, and fighting for the empire, and then kind of turning against it. It's the first time we see a lot of other type of troopers, introduced in the galaxy. And then you watch Andor, and you watch the second season of Andor, which is just phenomenally better than Andor, which was phenomenal in itself. And you see 0 Jedi, but you're learning all about the Resistance. You're learning about this heinous, empire that's doing all the things. And you see them shooting in the crowds, and you see them blowing things up to push a narrative. And you see all types of stuff that really just drives home everything about Star Wars except for the Force and the Jedi. And it's amazing, and they do incredibly well. You talked about, have a vision. Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, they're out there. They're pushing Star Wars for those of us that loved the original trilogy. And so you have Solo and Andor season 2, and then go watch the ending of The Mandalorian, where Luke shows up in his X-Wing and saves the day. And
just okay for me. I'm being sarcastic. I'm being 1,000,000% sarcastic.
So
if
everybody, going to tears watching the one X-Wing show up, and they're all like, one X-Wing, and then everybody's like, the cloak, the hand, the lightsaber, the belt buckle.
It's the baddest mofo. The belt buckle. Yes,
yeah, you're going through everything, and you're like, yes, it's all black and white.
He's
So you
wearing
can't tell
the
the
glove.
green, but you're 100% sure, but you're not 100% sure. And then all of a sudden, it's Luke, and he's just crushing those things and slicing through them and pulling them. He has his own hallway scene.
Yeah.
Fantastic. But it also helps bring not only so much more to the galaxy and the Resistance, the Rebellion, depending on the era that you're watching, but it also shows, with 1, 2, and 3, we're inundated with the Force and the Jedi, and we're always in the Jedi Council or Jedi Temple, and, the Jedi, and then we're always with Obi-Wan and Anakin, 2 Jedi that are always traveling together. It's a lot. And then you watch a whole bunch of stuff about the galaxy that has nothing to do with the Jedi, and then when a Jedi shows up and everybody loses their mind, it's because they're so far between, which is the whole point of Order 66, but we can delve into that in another time. But that was the whole point of Order 66, to get droids fighting Jedi way out in the outer rim where no one knows, and you spread all the Jedi out so you can focus on the planets that matter. And so no one really ever has seen a Jedi. Jedi are a myth almost, and then fast forward to episode 4, it's been 20-ish years. No one's seen a Jedi. They had heard about Jedi maybe 20 years ago. It's a myth, But so the thing that drew me in originally, Jedi. The thing that holds me now, the myth of the Jedi, and all the current stuff that we have.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
There's so much there. Like, if you want to become that level of fan, there's so much that you have to dig into and understand. And so let's go back. Like, somebody new to Star Wars. let's use this opportunity to talk about the order to watch. To best introduce yourself to characters, canon, that kind of thing. Do we have opinions?
Yes, we all do.
Mine is, it's not chronologically. What's like basically 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3.
Release order.
Yes.
You're saying
yes,
release order.
Yes, release order. Absolutely.
Okay. Why do you say release order?
Just that's how it was done. That's how it was done, and that's so you see that Luke is, or that Vader is Luke's father. You see that, like, it helps. I feel like it helps the story. Like, they don't, for 1, 2, and 3, they go into it knowing that the audience should know that Vader is Anakin. Like, you know that going in. I would say 80 to 90% of people should know that, right?
So, do you think super fans are being too hypercritical when they say that it spoils 4, 5, and 6 when you find out that Anakin is Darth?
It's one of the greatest moments in movie history.
In episode 5?
5, yeah.
So that's one of the greatest moments in cinematic history.
Is
that ruined if you watch 1, 2, 3 first?
And 1,000,000%, yes. Because you don't know.
So,
you go into it going, okay, it's a classic good versus evil. It's kind of, that's the moment Star Wars really became more rounded, where it gave like depth to a lot of the characters, where it wasn't just like, this guy's bad just because he's bad, this guy's good just because he's good.
Right.
Like, where they go in and go, okay, this, and that's why Darth Vader is one of the, and this would actually make your point, Scott, is one of the best characters of all time. Is he's one of the first bad guys where they're like, okay, there's a reason he's bad. Mm-hmm. Like, let's give him like a backstory. Let's give him some depth. Let's explain why he's this way. And that's why he's one of the best characters in movie history, in my very, very, very humble opinion.
Okay.
And that scene on the scaffolding, again, when Luke gets his hand cut off, I guess, again, spoiler alert, is one of the greatest things that's ever happened. It blew my little tiny Jackson mind to see it happen. This is amazing.
Right.
So,
because again, you like in that moment when Luke gets his hand cut off, you see the risk of him becoming his father.
Right.
Which women like dread becoming their mother, men dread becoming their fathers. Like, that brings sort of what we live day to day, helps us connect to that story a little bit more too, right?
Well, and there's a psychological thing about like men wanting to kill their father and marry their mom. And that's, look it up.
The Oedipus complex?
Yes.
Yes.
Right? Right, Candice?
Yes.
And
Okay.
although I disagree on the order, which I'll get to when it's my turn.
Oh, absolutely.
But, I mean, you're not wrong in that being one of the greatest cinematic pieces ever. But also, you're talking late 70s, early 80s, when bad guys are bad guys,
Right.
and they're going to lose.
Right.
And now all of a sudden, the bad guy's maybe not all bad, and now he's connected to the good guy.
Right.
And do you then want to see the bad guy die or be disposed of in some way, because now he's the dad of the protagonist?
You care about the bad guy now, and you can identify. You said, well, I would maybe do that for my whatever. So that's why I think it really rounds it, and that gives depth to the character of when you in 1, 2, and 3 as well. When you go back and go, okay, let's see, when did this go wrong? Like,
Right.
what happened? And like, you see all these things in the, one of my favorite things is the Clone Wars. When they talk about the Clone Wars in episode 4, I never thought when I was 7 that I would see what happened in the Clone Wars. I thought that was just a random thing that they like brought up. And then they went back and made them. That's one of the coolest things in my lifetime. Like, they actually made the Clone Wars. Again, like, when that was written, I wasn't born. And then they actually made it. I don't know. That's something
Right.
I think is pretty neat. Anyways,
Yeah.
I've talked long enough.
So, Andy, you said you disagreed with the order.
Yes,
I do.
Yeah, hit me.
Yeah. Clone Wars was a playground speculation back in the day. What were those? And we all chatted about what we thought the Clone Wars were. And now we have everything Clone Wars, which is fantastic. In order to, again, 4, 5, and 6, I can fully respect that as the order to introduce somebody to Star Wars. If you have somebody that's willing to sit through, again, I would recommend you watch Solo, because that would come before Andor. So you watch Solo.
Very first?
Yep, very first. And you get to know some characters, and you get to know the Empire, and you get to see a lot of wheeling and dealings here. And then you roll into Andor, and you watch Andor, and you learn all about the inner workings of the rebellion and the Empire. And then you roll into episode 4, which Andor carries right in, or Rogue One, right? Because Andor feeds right into Rogue One.
Yep.
Rogue One is minutes apart from episode 4, and you watch through all these. You actually then are introduced to Vader as a bad guy who's slaughtering dudes in a hallway, because our whole childhood watching 4, 5, and 6, everybody's afraid of Vader. Why? You never see him do anything other than choke a couple of his own people.
Isn't that scary enough?
We all want to do that to coworkers. That's not scary enough.
100%.
Right?
But when you're a little
Everybody
kid,
sure, he choked some of his own people.
Were you not scared of Vader when you were young?
Yeah, I mean, sure, but like if your first dealing with Vader is watching him go wholesale slaughter in a hallway,
Right.
that's pretty epic, right? And then it rolls right into episode 4, and then he's choking dudes, and you're like, yep, he's a bad mofo.
Right.
And then he cuts off his son's hand, knowing it's his son, cuts off his hand, and I'll now kill you or you join me. So he throws himself, But again, then you watch episode 6, and that's amazing. You want to learn about him as a little kid now, watch 1, 2, and 3. And you see that evolution of him into Vader. But again, I think that way you know a lot more about the fear and everything, and you have no Jedi. All of a sudden, you have this guy being trained as a Jedi, and you still get that's his dad and all those moments,
Okay.
Yeah. that you get if you just watch 4, 5, and 6. But you also get Rogue One, which arguably, and Solo, which arguably are the sequels that we wanted as kids.
I need to go back and watch those two again.
We wanted prequels.
Yeah.
And what we got was 40 years prior, not
Right.
quite. But we get this really far off guys on Tatooine and whatever else, and a little kid. Like, that rewound pretty quick,
Yeah.
We wanted some backstory, but that's a lot.
Yeah, you went too far.
Yeah. So show us the young Han. That's what we wanted to see. Why is Han the way he is?
Right.
Why is he Solo? And then the Andor, and then Rogue One, and then into 4, 5, and 6 is how I'd recommend starting.
Okay.
I should try that. Maybe it would make more sense to me.
That's interesting. Most of the time when you hear people debating order, they're only talking about the 9 movies. You watch them 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 3, 7, 8, 9.
See, and that's where you messed up, Scott, as not giving us boundaries. So
Right. No, and that's what I wanted.
I would
because,
agree. If it's movies, I would agree with Jackson. 4, 5, 6,
Okay.
and then 1, 2, 3. And if time allows and the world's ending and you have nothing to do, 7, 8, and 9.
So next week. No, it's funny that you say that, because I want to amend mine now, because Rogue One, that leads into episode 4 so well.
Yeah.
Because of that, again,
And you see a lot of sacrifice that you don't
Right.
see in 7 or in 4.
You could actually just watch the last 7 minutes of Rogue One and then watch, because that scene is so, again, when I talk about those nuggets, like, that's one of those nuggets where it's like, just give me more. Just give me num 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 num. I want it all. Like, can we do that the whole time? We have Vader doing that.
And that's so for those that haven't sat through Andor or all of Andor, the 2 seasons of it now. Something I think that they don't understand is there's almost 3 separate series within the first Andor, and then the second one's like that too, where there's so many different changes throughout, and you see so many different aspects of everything.
It's a long season. Second season. It's
yeah.
long, right? Isn't it like 13 or 14 episodes?
12, I think.
Oh,
I think it's 3 for the 4 weeks that they did. Or
Math
something.
has never been my strong suit.
Yeah, it's so you get all these different stories and perspectives, and they're in an Imperial prison, and they're building parts for the Death Star in Andor. And so, without any spoilers here, but you get to see that this is an ever going thing for a long time, and then you roll into episode 4 and it's all coming to fruition, because in Rogue One you see him putting the laser into the Death Star and whatnot. You start with episode 4 and you see, you know, this farm boy all of a sudden become a pilot, and then he goes in and he blows up the Death Star. That's pretty quick.
Sure.
For the movie that it is, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
So I couldn't agree more.
Again, and that's why I say watch Solo and Andor's, because then you get that build up and you get the immensity of it all.
Right. Okay. That's interesting. So as we get towards the end of this episode, there's a lot more here. We're going to have you guys back, because we could do 3 episodes just talking about the movies, and I didn't plan for that. So
I'm staying the night.
nice.
Let's just keep
drinking bourbon, and we'll just talk about this all night. So let's talk a little bit about one of the things you said really early in the episode. Andy, caught me, or maybe it was before we started recording. I can't remember. You said you like what Disney's done.
Yes.
With Disney or with Star Wars. Talk to me a little bit about what Disney has got right with the Star Wars universe, and maybe what they've gotten wrong with the Star Wars universe.
I think what they've gotten right is when they get like Dave Filoni on a project, you know, they have a lot of different directors. That's fine. Overall, there's still a vision for
Right.
what needs to happen. And I think with 7, 8, and 9, that's where a lot of fans kind of walked away or turned their backs to Star Wars, or at least to 7, 8, 9. And I know we've ragged on it a little bit already within this episode.
Yes.
But again, there was no consistency really within that. And so we get, you know, arguably 7 could have been a great movie, depending on 8 and 9, or a terrible movie, depending on 8 and 9. And what we got was a terrible movie, because everything that J.J. Abrams built up in episode 7, Rian Johnson
Just forgot.
just did whatever he wanted to do in episode 8. You know,
Salty. Jackson's salty about it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Introduced-
So is episode 8 really what ruins the last
Yes.
Wholeheartedly.
trilogy?
And you agree with that too?
Oh, wholeheartedly. And again, 7 was, I know there's a lot of, you know, it was basically a reboot of episode 4. Oh, there's a lot of reboots in Star Wars. You know, we're not going to split
Right.
hairs here. There's 2 Death Stars in our one trilogy. You know? So we're not going to split hairs. But episode 7 introduced, you know, the Knights of Ren, and, you know, Rey gets this lightsaber. That's a story for a different time, you know. Like, well, that's, okay, I want to know more about how Maz has this lightsaber that Anakin Skywalker built, you know. Story for a different time. Okay, cool, we'll get there.
Right.
Did they ever?
No,
No.
never.
Order the Knights of Ren, which
Right.
that's I had that written down. Knights of Ren. I want, when you asked when we did the, you know, when we talked about what we were going to talk about, Knights of Ren was the one that I really thought would have been a really cool thing.
Sure,
And
by
they
all
never
means.
touched on it. It's
Nothing. And so we have a lot of things built up in 7, even Snoke. You know,
Yes.
that could have gone good or bad. We know how the Emperor was introduced. If you rewind to episode
You mean
5,
shoehorned? Oh, yes.
Yeah.
you
going
know,
back,
just
going
a
back to
floating
5, yes.
head that was massive that Vader was kneeling in front of.
Yeah, it's awesome.
We don't really know.
Yeah.
Snoke could have been cool or not. We don't know. Ryan Johnson kills him.
Right.
Like, the trilogy's not even over yet. So now he's dead. Knights of Ren are no more, or we never hear about him again. And, you know, and then they have all these billion other planets that we've never heard of, billion other species that we've never seen or heard of. I know it's a big place, but there's nothing familiar, you know,
Right.
in there with us. And then all of a sudden, episode 9, they get back to J.J. Abrams and say, clean it up. And so J.J. is now supposed
He has to
try
walk a bunch of stuff back.
Yeah, try to figure it out. And, you know, the movie they filmed, we also know from tons of resources out there, the movie they filmed is not the movie that they released, based on the sales in China and everything else, that they had to change things because ghosts are bad. And so they did away with a whole bunch of Force ghosts that were supposed to come in to raise assistance and all types of neat stuff. And even the Force healing, which completely makes sense if you look at how they had filmed that. And now we're just given like a weird episode 9 to try to cap off 7 and 8. And it was poor.
Right.
But Disney has shown with Andor and Andor 2, along with Clone Wars, Bad Batch, all the animated things that they've done. Even, what was the one with the kids that they just came out with?
Skeleton Crew.
Skeleton Crew. Fantastic. You know, if you're looking at it from watching a neighborhood
Goonies for Star
and
Wars,
kids,
like, yeah,
Goonies for Star,
fantastic.
is phenomenal. And then you had a a villain in there who never turned into the good guy that, you figure, oh, it's Disney, so
Right.
he'll learn the error of his ways. Nope, stayed bad, stayed true to the character. So Skeleton Crew is fantastic in its own right.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Boba Fett, I don't know what they were doing there. They tried a lot of things, and they kind of ruined one of the coolest characters in the Star Wars universe.
Right.
Again, Nugget. Spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't watched it. Boba Fett riding a Rancor is one of my favorite things. Oh, Candice. You know what a Rancor is?
The dungeon monster?
The
From
dungeon
Jedi.
monster. He rides one.
What?
Yeah. It's amazing.
Okay.
Candice,
Could have been.
can I get a Rancor for Christmas, please?
Sure.
With a saddle.
Sure.
With a saddle.
With a
That's-
saddle.
Yeah.
I could ride one, I bet, Scott.
Yeah,
Don't
I bet you
think?
could.
Anyways, sorry.
I'll
Drink a
watch
couple
Disney
bourbons,
Store
get
for that.
handsome, and then
Scott knows my MO. No, Andy, I interrupt you. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I mean, again, I feel we could have had a lot of cool stuff with Boba Fett.
yeah.
I think we all wanted more of his story.
I agree.
We had Boba.
Do you think the Mandalorian, shoehorn's not the right word? They worked Mandalorian in, and that's Jon Favreau. That's one of my points I was talking about earlier. Is I really do think Jon Favreau had this idea, and they let him direct, produce, and no one else has gotten in his way. And look, it's the most successful Star Wars thing I would argue since the original trilogy. I really do believe that.
You talk about that more than you talk about any of the movies that have come out since the trilogy.
People and
More people
and it's-
know that
For sure.
than they even know the last of the trilogies.
100%.
and again, this is kind of a hot take. Is it's very good.
Right.
It's not.
They also
It's not
struck
fanta-
gold with Baby Yoda in The Mandalorian.
Grogu.
Oh, you're that girl.
Yeah, I know.
That
Yes.
Candice. High five from across the room. They absolutely did.
So as you guys have been talking, one of the things, like, as bad as you say 7, 8, and 9 are, like, I am blown away. Like, I think it was episode 9, I think, like, when Luke kind of saves the day from his long lost island, and he uses the Force to be there in that moment to fight Kylo Ren. To me, that is almost as cool as finding out Darth is Luke's father. Like, that whole scene, like that, like, oh my God, Luke's not there, just blows my mind every time I watch it.
Sure, and I didn't care for 7, 8, 9 as a whole. I love a lot of aspects of it because, again, I love Star Wars, and there's a lot of fans that are, I didn't like this, and this, so I don't like 7. Got it. If I was doing 7, it wouldn't be that way.
Right.
I'm not doing 7. Somebody else did. So that's the Star Wars now that we have. Him doing the Force projection was fantastic, and Force projection has been a thing since the books and the comics before we ever had anything else other than 4, 5, and 6. So it was canon. Now that canon's not really a thing, but it was canon for a long time.
Right.
And so he does this thing. He Force projects. It's a neat scene. And then when he becomes one with the Force, fades away, you see the robe blow. And it kind of zooms in on the binary sunset. We're introduced with Luke with a binary sunset as a baby when he's handed off by Obi-Wan to his uncle Owen, and at the time girlfriend Beru. And then we see Luke kind of doing the coming of age with the binary sunset, more John Williams. And then we see him fade away.
Question with the
binary
best
sunset.
John Williams, like with the single, I think it's a trumpet. Like,
Oh, the French horn.
yes, 100% right. Yes, you're right. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
fantastic. But
Yeah.
seeing him fade away to that, it just seals the whole Luke. And I know Mark Hamill had his own qualms with how things were playing out, but again, it's the Star Wars we got. And I think the binary sunset kind of being the beginning, the middle, and the end of Luke Skywalker is poetic.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to get into one final question, but before I get there, another discussion topic. Do you think 7, 8, and 9 will be seen as positively in time as 1, 2, and 3 are? Because when 1, 2, and 3 came out, like, if I remember correctly, they were like universally panned. This is crap. They've ruined my baby.
Some
Star
of us
Wars.
still feel like that.
Right. But do you think 7, 8, and 9 will come around? Like, in 10 years, do you think people will see 7, 8, 9 as equal to 1, 2, and 3, or will it always be the lesser of the trilogies?
I think it's gonna because Rey is gonna be in the next Star Wars. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of it will have to do with that. That's my take on it. I think that if this actually pans out, if they actually make a good movie from here, then that will make the
kind
canon
of rescue
better.
What happened. Okay.
And I was one of the ones, again, I still remember when episode 1 came out, I saw it twice in one day. I saw it as soon as it came out, and then I took my brother to it later. And I remember thinking, like, this is awesome. And then it was only later on when I thought about it, I was like, man, that jar. Misa not so sure about this one. I'm going to keep making that joke.
And also, just to point out,
Yeah.
you seen it twice in one day. I've been trying to explain to my kids even. That's a whole day for you then.
Yes,
Because
absolutely.
you can just go online, buy the tickets, and know that you have a reserved seat, and then you can show up right at the time of the show.
Right. No,
So,
I absolutely had to
Just
like...
for
yeah.
all those listening
Right.
that may have been the generation younger than us now that just goes on and buys the ticket.
Right.
You're talking hours in line,
Yep.
and then you get a ticket, and then you run and you try to find seats.
Yep.
Nothing's reserved. You try to find seats together, and then you throw it on your coats or whatever, or somebody sits there, and then you try to go buy snacks or whatever, and you take shifts
Yep.
or you buy for everybody. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
So it's literally like a
It was-
3-hour
it was a-
process
it was
before
a-
the movie starts.
Yeah,
So,
it was a Star Wars day, but...
Yeah.
No, I don't know the answer to that question, though, Scott. I think time will tell. I don't think they were... There's good things in there,
Right.
except for episode 8. No, they did me salty with Luke in episode. That's just how they portrayed him, that stupid blue milk scene. They really did him dirty. I wanted them to make him more Obi-Wan-like, even Yoda-like, where he was
Became
reckless...
wise.
Yes,
Became
wise, and not a joke.
Right.
You know, Luke was
I
this
see
badass. He was this badass. Like, make him a badass, even as a hermit, and they made him just silly almost,
Right.
and I didn't like that.
And
I
again,
didn't like
kind of
that.
7 going, could have gone either way. Rey at the end holding the lightsaber out. Luke seeing the lightsaber,
Right.
not reaching out for it because he knows everything that lightsaber has done in its past. That lightsaber has a story of its own.
Right.
From being a youngling slayer to, his first weapon that he then defeats his father with. Like, there's a lot to that lightsaber, and this girl just randomly shows up on his island and hands it to him.
And then that dumb scene where he throws it.
Right. So again,
I hate
episode
it,
7
man.
could have gone
Hate
either
it.
way.
Right.
But then 8 starts off with him chucking over his shoulder and walking away. It's supposed to be a funny moment. It wasn't funny to anybody that's been raised on Star Wars.
Yes,
Right.
a million %. I felt like there should have been like music behind it. It's like, ba, 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 da, ba, like
Wah,
like
wah, wah.
yes, yes,
So I have a question, and this is a genuine question.
yes. Go.
So how much of Luke becoming a hermit and sort of a quote unquote joke is the whole no good deed goes unpunished thing? Because if you think about it from even episode 4 when he destroys the Death Star,
Right.
like that's a big deal.
Huge deal.
And like he continues to do good things or try and do good things, and yet he's not lauded maybe as the hero that maybe he should be. So how much of that is him like, well, I'm done trying. See ya.
But you can still do that and not have him be like a slapstick, like, oh, this is a lightsaber, and it's like even look at it, even it's very simple things. I feel like if he took that lightsaber and just like dropped it instead of how he
Right.
flings
Like,
it.
I don't want to see this anymore. Like, this brings back too many bad memories. It's tied to too much. I can't hold it anymore.
And just drops it.
instead of just throwing it.
Like,
yeah.
and even how he throws it is like, it's comical. And he was, through the whole arc of his whole story, he was never comical.
No.
Except when he kisses his sister. That's pretty comical.
We're not here to kink shame.
Yep.
But also,
Well,
to your
that's the
point-
third episode, folks. Yeah.
To your point, though, I mean, episode 4, the first movie we see Luke in, if you're watching him right, he gets a medal. No one else in the rebellion does. I won't spend time on that, but he gets a medal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then after 6, okay, so redemption with his father. And then following the original canon, which is no longer canon, it's Legends, but he starts the next Jedi Temple, right? So I don't think it was ever for lack of recognition or anything. I think it was, again, just a horribly done look at the character, because had they done anything else than chuck it comically over his shoulder, or had they, you're talking to a guy who, the whole thing now why he becomes a hermit is because, his nephew has a bad dream and then he thinks about killing him in his sleep. And that's the whole point behind that drives Kylo Ren, which is arguably 7, 8, and 9, right? So
that they never explore.
They never explore.
Right.
And again, he has a bad dream. He's going to kill him in his sleep. He doesn't. That's the saving grace of Luke Skywalker in 7, 8, 9. But this is also Luke Skywalker, who found out his father, the Dark Lord of the Sith, the right hand of the Emperor, who is the embodiment of the dark side, and he sees good in him and conflict, and he will not kill his father even when he has the opportunity finally, and he casts his lightsaber aside. And then when the Emperor says, you're fine, then you're going to die if you think you're a Jedi, and he willingly accepts it. He takes a hit on the chin and is getting electrocuted to death because he won't kill his father, even though he knows all the bad his father has done, because he knows there's conflict and there's good within him. His nephew has a bad dream, and he's going to cut his head off.
I never really thought about it that way. That's such a good take.
Yeah,
super frustrating.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
again,
I had never really even thought about like Luke in that way. Okay, so we've got, in a couple episodes, we're going to talk changing canon. We're going to talk, I think we're going to explore a lot of that in our episode 6. To wrap up this episode, though, I'm going to go around the room and in a minute or less, worst Star Wars scene ever and why. A minute or less, and because I know she has it locked and loaded, Candice, you're first.
Hoth.
And why?
I knew she was going to say it.
Hoth in general?
Yes.
That's not part of her
let
minute.
her
I had
cook.
to get clarification.
Andy,
Right.
let her cook.
That's more than one scene. But
Candice and I have
yes.
been having
I
this
love
fight.
Hoth. I want to hear this.
Candice and I have been having this fight for a
It's
decade.
the whole Tauntaun thing.
Oh, so the Tauntaun scene.
Like slaughtering a Tauntaun. And yes, I realize it was so he wouldn't freeze to death. Take a coat.
He was wearing one. That's
He was not. He was wearing a puffy vest and a hat.
But I thought they smelled bad on the outside.
that's what she said.
I will point the fans that are listening, I will point them to go watch the Mythbusters episode where they do all Star Wars. It's phenomenal. Swinging over a chasm, the Tauntaun. They build a Tauntaun, they get it to accurate temperatures, all these things. They talk to these snow experts, survival people of the Arctic, whatever, and they do all this and they test it. And it would have worked.
Really?
It would have.
It would have worked.
It was not a myth that was busted.
It was not a myth that was busted. So they did this. They had their human with all the thermometers and everything inside there, and they cooled. They had a massive walk-in freezer. They cooled it down, and again, Star Wars super fans on Wikipedia have everything on Hoth,
Wikipedia.
temperatures, all the things, whatever, so they can figure
Wikipedia
out.
is the best resource ever.
Wikipedia, not Wikipedia.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, Wikipedia.
Excuse me. I said corrected.
Wikipedia, yes.
Candice, you see what they did there, right?
I do.
Okay.
The pun is not lost on her. So they build this Tauntaun out of all the proper insulation of foam and fur hide and all these things, and they get it to body temp, and then they figure out how long it takes for somebody, an amateur, to build some sort of crude shelter from the harsh Arctic environment, and then they place this body in there and they watch it, and the human body only dropped a couple degrees for, I don't remember how many hours this thing was in there, enough time for again, an amateur to build a rudimentary shelter. And so it holds up. Again, it could happen in that universe.
Right. You still can have it be your least favorite Star Wars scene.
Right, because
Yeah.
this poor animal that was faithfully bringing him across the snowy terrain all of a sudden gets sliced open, and he had no...
It died of cold, and then they sliced its belly open. They didn't kill it.
I don't care.
So they,
I
should they
think
have
some of
buried
it, too, is you are not a fan of snow and cold. So that
100%.
entire
Oh, so
part
you
of
already
that movie.
hate Hoth.
Hoth.
Right.
Yes,
Oh,
I
she
do.
hates Hoth.
Yeah, so that
Oh, she hates
entire
Hoth.
part of that movie is like
It makes me
her
angry,
hating.
and that is why that's my least favorite one of the movies that I've seen.
See, and that's
and
filmed
we've
in
been having this
Norway,
fight for a
and so
decade.
I have this partial affinity for it because it was filmed in Norway. So
I get that.
Andy, so that's my favorite, questionably one of my favorite like sequences of Star Wars, and we've been having this fight for a decade. For a decade.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry to jump
so
in.
Oh, you're fine.
Jackson, least favorite Star Wars scene and why in less than a minute.
Less than a minute. I'm gonna say the explanation. I've two, and I promise I'll be very, very short. I have two. The explanation of the midichlorians when the little kid Jake Lloyd says, "Qui-Gon, can you explain midichlorians to me? Because you had mentioned midichlorians, and I don't know what a midichlorian is. So can you explain midichlorians?" He says midichlorians like 7 times in like a 30-second span. That and the explanation of it, like, and I just really don't like it. The other one is when Luke drinks the blue milk in Episode 8. I immediately, I think I looked at my neighbor who I didn't know in the theater and went, "What in the F?"
What
is
in the F?
this?"
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are my two.
Okay. Andy?
And I will say I hated the midichlorian thing, as all of us that have loved the original trilogies. I've learned to accept it for various reasons.
I can, but just yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so we can debate that. The one moment I think, and again there are several that I can think of. I'll keep it the one, and I mentioned it earlier. When Rey sees the lightsaber, and Maz says, "That's a story for another time," and we never get the story of how she has Anakin lightsaber.
Such a
Anakin
letdown.
Skywalker's
Right, how
lightsaber.
she
Such a
got it.
letdown.
Right.
Right. Something that we've all been anxious and curious to know ever since the first trailer, and go, we all went,
Right.
"Hey, that's Anakin's.
No payoff. No,
That's Luke's.
It's
That's
such a big build up and no payoff.
and
Right.
nothing." And then she fixes it at some point, and now this is Disney geared, right? So, they sell the Rey lightsaber there.
Mm-hmm.
I'd buy Anakin's. I'd buy Luke's.
But
Rey's really frustrates me. I'm watching my language here because, again, I want to know the story.
right.
Yeah.
But also, Ray is walking around in the parks.
Especially when they
Right.
promise it. When they, like, there's one thing where it's like, I don't know, Chewbacca's backstory. Okay, that was never promised to you. Like,
Yeah.
that's not something that was ever talked
Yeah,
about.
it's Chekhov's
but
gun.
This,
The literary,
this was
you
specifically
introduce it, you
talked
gotta
about.
use it.
And
Right.
they said, okay, we're talking about this. This should be something we should cover later, and they don't. So there's
Right.
no payoff.
Okay. So my least favorite, as you all have been talking, I've been thinking about it. The pod race from Episode 1. I
yes.
hate things when you know how they're going to end.
Yes.
And there
it's
is
so long.
Right. It's so long, and from the beginning of that scene to the end, you know how it's going to end.
100%. And I do appreciate you bringing that up, though, because I do have something I'm going to bring up later on that's going to tie back to the pod race. So if you're unfamiliar with the pod race, before you watch or listen to the next
In a couple
episode,
episodes, yeah.
yes, please go
Go
Do
watch
your
it.
homework,
watch a
people.
half
Yeah.
hour of a race that you know exactly going to
with Q-tips.
Oh, man.
With Q-tips. That's okay. So this was a fantastic. There's a lot more we can delve into in just talking about Star Wars fandom. So we're gonna end this one here. Next time we talk about Star Wars, I don't know that I'm gonna release these right back to back in back-to-back weeks yet. Haven't figured out my release schedule, but the next Star Wars episode that we're gonna talk about is gonna be all about Batuu and Galaxy's Edge in the Disney theme park. So
Very cool.
Fun.
come
Very
listen
fun.
to that one. And as always, we end every episode this way. Remember, there's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow.
And we'll see you real soon.